In this video, we're going to be talking about the under 16s social media ban that's coming into effect in Australia in December 2025. In the last video I made about this, I spoke about the potential scope increase that the government would have over the course of figuring out how exactly they're going to implement this. Well, I was exactly right. They've gone and done an absolute U-turn on YouTube, and YouTube is now going to be banned under the rules that they're setting in place. Alongside with YouTube, they've realized that if you lock people out of going into your YouTube account, it's actually your Google account. So that means that people won't be able to get to Google search unless they age assurance or age verify with their Google account to do a Google search. There was a Senate inquiry for this. The parties most concerned about surveillance were parties like One Nation, whether you love them or hate them. They've got this in their sights and they're talking about how bad it is. It was voted down, unfortunately, by the Labor and the Greens government, obviously because this is their agenda and something they wanted to push. Just a side note, I believe this bill was actually introduced under the Liberal Party, so I'm not sure why they tried to vote it down. They should be fully on board because this is something that they potentially wanted. I'm going to add this in just as an extra topic, but it seems there's some sort of global conspiracy going on. What I mean by that is that there's countries all around the world at the same time that are introducing very, very similar laws and bills. So the first one is that the UK has actually introduced an Online Safety Act, which is very, very similar to what we want to do for social media in Australia. And it's actually live now. So we'll talk about that shortly. The US is also going to be rolling out surveillance for under 18s, but they're using a method of AI to detect if a person is under the age of 18 based on the content that they're viewing in their search history. At the same time, New Zealand are introducing a bill, and in the EU, there are bills being introduced as well. There's currently a pilot program going on in the EU to help stop people and block them from using these sites and assuring their age. It's getting scarier and scarier. The authoritarian powers are really pressing down their thumb, and I think that this is just the beginning. Specifically in Ireland, they're bringing in a bill potentially so that the Gardaí or the Garda, not sure exactly how to pronounce it, which is their police force, is going to be able to look at their encrypted chat messages, so their WhatsApp messages sending from people to other people. This is really scary because the whole point of WhatsApp or Telegram or any of these messaging apps is that they're end-to-end encrypted, which means, in a nutshell, they shouldn't be able to be intercepted by someone and read. So the only real way they're going to be able to implement that, in my opinion, based on what I know, is putting something on their phone so that they can read the messages as they come through. If that's a reality, it's getting very, very scary. So I wanted to dive into the results of the Online Safety Act, which is the act that came into effect for the UK. What it means is that people have to do a level of age assurance or age verification when they sign into a platform. That means sending a piece of identity, whether it's your driver's license or passport or whatever it is, to get onto some of these apps. There's different levels of association for these identities, and some of them have resulted in just face scans. So the face scan can show how old you are to get on the app. Everyone in the UK right now, to keep their applications that they've been using maybe for 10 years, will now have to go and do that age verification process. So we get a really good idea of exactly what's going to be happening in Australia when the under 16 social media ban comes in. We basically have a pilot where we can look overseas and say, hey, it's not working, or hey, we don't want that, and really get a chance to push back. So some of the examples that I've seen online in the Twitterverse or the Xverse have been really, really enlightening. The first one, and one you probably wouldn't expect, is the fact that Spotify will delete your account if you do not age verify in time. A paid platform that we all pay for, or some of us pay for, so that we get the privilege of listening to music. Now, under the government's thumb, they have to make sure that you're age verified so that you can listen to some swearing and some rap music. Otherwise, they're going to delete your account in a certain amount of time. Another one that I think was really important to point out was the NVIDIA graphics card software. I don't know if everyone's going to know what that means, but NVIDIA is a brand of graphics card which you need to use to play computer games. And I've seen people speculate online that they can no longer use that application unless they age verify. So if you have a 13, 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, anyone under the age of 18 in the UK right now that wants to play Minecraft, but they need to update their graphics card or tweak some settings to get a better quality outcome, they're not going to be able to use that application. It's just absolutely wild. So these two examples are a really good showcase of government overreach. And what people started doing was downloading VPNs. So we saw a massive spike in traffic from Google Trends of people in the UK specifically Googling VPNs to try and get around this. Some users, and I think this might just be speculation, claimed that the VPN sites were actually being blocked by their internet service providers to stop them from going to these VPN websites to download VPNs. So as one of the methods is being able to age verify with a face scan on some platforms like Discord, for example, which is an online chatting app and messaging app that a lot of people use for video games. The face scan technology, as you can see in this video, was actually abused by some video game players because they would use video game characters to age verify themselves. The age verification process usually asks you to like open your mouth or move your face, and they can easily do this with a game character. And the game characters look older than 18 and they look pretty realistic, so they're bypassing these things. So I'm sure the developers of any of these age assurance softwares or age verification softwares are going crazy right now, trying to figure out how to stop people from doing this and bypassing their systems. But I think it's just a really funny way to show that people are going to do anything to get around these laws. And it will continue to push people into darker points of the web using Tor applications and whatnot, just to get around all of the government hassle. So it's been a really interesting week, and I think really to top it off, we got a real world example of some of the privacy issues that can go along with submitting your identification or your photo or your location or any parts of your identity to any of these third-party platforms. It hit the news, I'm not sure if you saw it. There's an app called the T app, and it's a real-life privacy nightmare. So recently the app had a data leak due to terrible configurations and bad programming design that made it very, very easy to attackers to get the data. It exposed over 13,000 data points from women, and specifically women only. And the reason for that is because the app was based around women. So only women could get on the platform, and it was designed so that they could gossip about men they've dated in the area and provide details about their experience and potentially warn other girls not to go near these men if they were dangerous or had bad vibes or whatever it is. I'm not here to get into the politics of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the important thing to know is that upon sign up, a photo was taken of the women to prove their gender. So because it's a women-only app, they have to go through that proof process. The application promised that this data was deleted. Well, we found out in fact that the data was not deleted because it was a part of the data leak that happened over the internet. So pay attention to the parallel here. The tech companies are promising that the data they collect by the government enforcing them to collect it, your driver's license, your face, whatever it is, they've made promises not to keep this data, exactly the same as this other tech company who also promised not to keep the data. The result of this is people have gone and made websites that show the exact location based on the addresses and information that these women put in the app, along with their photographs on a map of the world, so you can zoom into the map of the world and find out where these people live and what they look like. This is an example of a data privacy nightmare. It's going to continue to happen, and it doesn't matter how many controls we put in place or how good security is, these things will happen. And it's going to be government enforced. The government is enforcing these companies to take your data and potentially store it. Even if they claim that they don't store it, this can become a privacy nightmare. So how do I think this is going to end? Well, in Australia specifically, they've already introduced digital ID. I think that when the age assurance comes out, it's going to be an absolute pain for both companies to abide by and users to use to make sure they age verify at, once a week or once a month or whenever it is, to make sure that they continue using the platform. I think that they will use this annoyance to bring in digital ID so the government can say, don't worry about using your face app, don't worry about giving them your driver's license, just use a digital ID to authenticate to these websites and we're all good. I'm planning to make some videos about digital ID and how this techno nightmare comes all together with the bills that they've already introduced and the things that they've got planned. So keep in wait to see what the result of that is, but I believe that's the future. I hope and pray that I'm wrong.